I always thought I knew what sacrifice looked like, until life threw me a betrayal so deep that I'd never imagined feeling such a mix of grief, anger, and cold resolve. My name is Rebecca, and a little over 2 years ago, I quit my well-paying corporate job to devote every ounce of my energy to raising Lily, my stepdaughter, as if she were my own flesh and blood. I believed I was building a home filled with love, stability, and mutual respect. I was wrong. When I married Michael, I was drawn to his charming smile and promises of a bright future. Michael had a daughter, Lily, from a previous marriage, and from our very first conversation, I vowed that I'd love her unconditionally. I left my job, cut ties with a fast-paced career that I had grown accustomed to, and plunged into a new chapter of my life, being a full-time caregiver, mentor, and surrogate mother to Lily. I wanted to create a sanctuary where she could flourish. Little did I know that I was stepping into a carefully constructed web of deceit. The early days were a blend of chaos and joy. Every morning, I would prepare breakfast, drive Lily to school, help her with homework, and listen to her share her day's little victories and struggles. Michael, too, seemed to play his part as the doting father and husband. Our evenings were punctuated by family dinners and quiet moments on the couch, where I felt that my sacrifice had been worth it. I even painted a spare room with soft, comforting colors, my little masterpiece of love and hope. But beneath the surface, something was always off. I started noticing small inconsistencies, Michael's vague excuses about late meetings, hushed phone conversations that stopped when I entered the room, and the furtive glances he exchanged with a woman whose name I never heard. I brushed these off as the quirks of a busy man, too wrapped up in his work to notice the details of our everyday life. Yet, an uneasy feeling settled in my chest that I couldn't quite shake. Lily, on the other hand, grew into a precocious teenager with a sensitive soul. I poured every ounce of my affection into her, celebrating her achievements and soothing her wounds. I even took on extra shifts at a local cafe to cover some of the expenses that cropped up, never once complaining because every sacrifice felt justified by the sight of her bright smile. In my heart, I believed that our bond was unbreakable. I trusted her implicitly, and I thought she trusted me just as fiercely. Then came the day of her 16th birthday party. It was meant to be a celebration of youth, promise, and the future. I had spared no expense, decorating our backyard with streamers, balloons, and lights that twinkled like stars. I had invited her school friends, relatives, and even a few of Michael's colleagues to join the festivities. In the weeks leading up to the party, Lily had grown unusually quiet, her eyes filled with a mysterious determination. I chalked it up to the typical preteen mood swings, never suspecting that behind her reserved facade lay a truth that would shatter our family to pieces. The party began with laughter and music, with everyone enjoying the carefully orchestrated ambiance. I moved through the crowd, ensuring every detail was perfect and every guest felt welcome. Yet, as the sun began to dip below the horizon, I sensed a shift in the atmosphere, a subtle tension that I couldn't quite place. I brushed it off until Lily took to the makeshift stage we'd set up for her birthday speech. With a steady, unwavering gaze, Lily began speaking in a tone that was both measured and defiant. Her words cut through the festive air like shards of glass. "I know what you've all been hiding," she said, her voice trembling not with fear, but with an undeniable resolve. "I know about Dad's affair and how he's been using us. I know that while you pretended to be the perfect family, he was secretly involved with another woman, and I was supporting him all along." The crowd fell into a stunned silence. I stood rooted to the spot, my heart hammering in my chest. The revelation wasn't just an accusation against Michael. It was a damning indictment of our entire family. I felt as if the ground had shifted beneath me, as if every sacrifice I had made was suddenly tainted by betrayal. Michael's face drained of color as he fumbled for words, but Lily continued, detailing with heartbreaking clarity how she had quietly funneled money into Michael's secret accounts, believing it was for the family's future. The twisted logic was that her financial support would keep the household running while Michael indulged in his forbidden affair. At that moment, I felt a fierce, burning anger that eclipsed all the love I had once felt. The betrayal was complete and absolute. Not only had Michael deceived me, but my beloved Lily, the child I had nurtured with every fiber of my being, had chosen to side with him. The pain was excruciating, but amid that pain, a spark of determination ignited. I refused to be a victim any longer. The following days were a blur of shock and silent rage. I confronted Michael in the dead of night, our voices low and heavy with regret. "How could you?" I demanded, my voice barely above a whisper, but Michael's eyes were cold, devoid of the love and remorse I had once known. He insisted that Lily had done what was necessary to protect her interests and secure her future. That explanation was an insult to everything I stood for. In that moment, I made a promise to myself. I would never forgive him, and I would ensure that his betrayal was met with the full force of my wrath. My first step was to gather evidence. I spent long nights combing through financial records, bank statements, and emails. Every document revealed another layer of deception, a carefully maintained facade of respectability, hiding a torrid undercurrent of infidelity and exploitation. I discovered that Michael had not only been siphoning money to his mistress, but had also been manipulating Lily into believing that her contributions were a token of loyalty, a way to preserve the image of a happy family. The more I uncovered, the more I realized that the man I had once loved was nothing more than a calculating fraud. With every piece of evidence in my possession, I began to craft my plan for revenge. I wasn't interested in petty retribution or simple words of anger. I wanted to dismantle the life Michael had built, piece by piece, leaving him with nothing but the ruins of his deceit. I knew that legal action would be the most effective route, one that would force him into the harsh light of public scrutiny. I contacted a trusted attorney who had a reputation for handling high-profile cases involving financial fraud and infidelity. I laid out every detail, every shred of evidence, and together we devised a strategy that was as meticulously planned as it was ruthless. The legal battle that ensued was grueling and relentless. Michael tried to fight back, his lawyers arguing that Lily had acted on her own volition and that the money transfers were voluntary contributions. But the weight of the evidence was overwhelming. I was prepared for every counter-argument. I had anticipated every possible move he could make. Every day in court, I sat there, watching as Michael's carefully constructed facade crumbled piece by piece. The proceedings were a spectacle of shattered lies, and I reveled in the slow, agonizing process of his public humiliation. Throughout the trial, I felt a profound transformation within myself. The pain of betrayal had given way to a cold, steely resolve. I began to see the situation not as a personal vendetta, but as a necessary reckoning, a moment when the scales of justice could finally be balanced. I no longer clung to the remnants of the woman I once was. Instead, I embraced the hard-edged strength that had been forged in the fires of deceit. I remember the day the verdict was announced like it was yesterday. The courtroom was thick with tension, and as the judge's gavel fell, sealing Michael's fate, I felt a surge of vindication. Michael was ordered to repay every penny he had misappropriated, and his reputation was irreparably damaged. He was not only financially ruined, but socially ostracized by those who had once admired him. There was no forgiveness in my heart, only a deep, unyielding satisfaction that justice had been served. But the revenge was not solely legal. I knew that to fully break Michael, I needed to sever the ties that bound him to our past. I carefully orchestrated a final act of retribution that would leave him isolated and destitute. I contacted every associate he had, every business partner who had once trusted him implicitly, and presented them with the incontrovertible evidence of his crimes. One by one, they withdrew their support, leaving him to face the consequences alone. The man who had once commanded respect now found himself shunned by every community he had ever belonged to. In the weeks that followed, as Michael's world disintegrated, I found solace in the newfound clarity of my life. I took back control, not just of my finances and reputation, but of my identity. I enrolled in night classes, took up a part-time job to rebuild my independence, and sought therapy to heal the scars left by the betrayal. It wasn't easy. The weight of the past lingered like a shadow, but I was determined to reclaim every part of myself that had been lost in the chaos of that fateful day. Lily, on the other hand, became a painful reminder of everything I had sacrificed and lost. I tried to reach out to her, to explain that her actions had torn our family apart, but she remained distant and defensive. Her loyalty to Michael was unyielding, and every attempt to bridge the gap was met with icy indifference. I realized that the love I had poured into raising her was not enough to overcome the twisted influence of deception and manipulation. In the end, I accepted that some bonds, no matter how deep, can be irreparably broken. As the years passed, I slowly rebuilt a semblance of a life that was mine again. I focused on myself, my dreams, my passions, and the relationships that truly mattered. The memory of Michael's betrayal became a distant, albeit painful chapter in my life. Every now and then, I would catch a glimpse of him in the tabloids or hear whispers of his continued struggles, and I felt no pang of regret or longing. There was only the satisfaction of knowing that I had not only survived, but thrived in the aftermath of his treachery. I often reflect on the choices I made and the sacrifices I endured. Quitting my job to raise Lily was a decision born of love and hope, a hope that I would be rewarded with loyalty and gratitude. Instead, I was met with betrayal so profound that it forced me to reinvent myself from the ground up. I learned that sometimes the greatest acts of self-love come from the courage to stand alone and the determination to seek justice on your own terms. The legal victory, while sweet, was only part of my journey. The true victory lay in the reclamation of my identity and the realization that I was stronger than I had ever imagined. I had faced the darkest depths of deception and emerged unscathed, my resolve tempered by the fires of betrayal. I learned that revenge is not about mirroring the pain inflicted upon you, but about reclaiming your power and refusing to be defined by the actions of another. Now, as I sit in the quiet of my modest apartment with the soft hum of the city in the background, I know that I have finally found a measure of peace. The wounds of the past have healed, leaving behind scars that serve as a reminder of my journey. A journey marked by betrayal, resilience, and the relentless pursuit of justice. I do not forgive Michael, nor do I ever intend to. Forgiveness, in this case, would be an abdication of the strength I fought so hard to reclaim. Instead, I choose to remember, to learn, and to move forward with the quiet confidence of a woman who has truly taken control of her destiny. To anyone reading this who has ever felt betrayed or diminished by those they once trusted, know that you have the power to rise above the ashes of your past. The road to reclaiming your life may be long and fraught with challenges, but every step you take is a victory over the darkness that once threatened to consume you. My story is not one of regret, but of liberation, a testament to the fact that even in the wake of devastating betrayal, there lies a path to redemption, strength, and ultimately revenge that is as satisfying as it is inevitable. I quit my job with the belief that I was giving Lily the best of me, that I was building a home where honesty and love reigned supreme. Instead, I found that sometimes the very act of sacrificing for someone else can lead to unimaginable betrayal. Yet, in that betrayal, I discovered a truth about myself, that I was capable of enduring immense pain, and even more capable of turning that pain into the fuel for my own rebirth. Michael's treachery may have shattered the illusion of our perfect family, but it also paved the way for my own transformation, a transformation that taught me the invaluable lesson that self-respect and justice are the most potent forms of revenge. Now, as I continue to rebuild my life piece by piece, I stand as a testament to the fact that betrayal, no matter how deep, can never extinguish the fire within. I have reclaimed every part of my identity that was once stolen by deceit, and I have done so with the unwavering conviction that I deserve a life defined by strength, honesty, and unyielding self-love. This is my truth, a raw, unfiltered account of love, betrayal, and the unrelenting pursuit of justice that I hope inspires others to never settle for anything less than the life they truly deserve. Looking back, I have no regrets about the sacrifices I made, even though they ultimately led to my awakening. The pain of betrayal is a bitter pill to swallow, but it is also a catalyst for change. Michael may have thought that his web of lies would keep him untouchable, but in the end, it was his own deceit that paved the way for his downfall. And while I may never mend the broken bridge with Lily, I have forged a new path, one where my own happiness and integrity are no longer negotiable. In the aftermath of the storm, I have come to embrace the solitude that follows betrayal, finding solace in the knowledge that my life is now firmly in my own hands. I will never forget the lessons learned during those harrowing days, nor will I ever allow the ghosts of the past to dictate my future. Instead, I march forward with the quiet satisfaction of a battle hard won, a satisfaction that comes not from forgiveness, but from the unyielding pursuit of justice and the reclaiming of my own destiny. This is the story of how I lost everything I thought was sacred, only to discover that even the deepest wounds can give birth to unimaginable strength. I share it not for sympathy, but as a reminder that sometimes the only way to reclaim what is rightfully yours is to confront betrayal head-on, to stand firm in the face of deception, and to let the echoes of your own determination silence the lies of those who would try to define you. And so, with each passing day, I continue to rebuild, not out of bitterness, but out of an unshakable resolve that I will never again be a victim of someone else's deceit. I am Rebecca. I am a survivor. And though the scars of betrayal remain, they are the marks of a hard-won freedom, a freedom forged in the fires of vengeance, tempered by the relentless pursuit of truth, and celebrated in the quiet moments of victory that remind me every single day that I am more than the sum of my sacrifices.